Trigger warning. This episode of the Realer Than Real podcast contains discussions of sensitive topics, including child sexual assault. Listener discretion is advised. If you or someone you know is experiencing distress or needs support, please reach out to a trusted friend, family member, or mental health professional. Resources such as hotlines and support organizations are available for those who need assistance. Your well-being is important to me, and I encourage self-care while listening to this episode. Thank you. Realer Than Real. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It is so lovely to see you all here. I'm so happy you're here. I'm happy to be here today and every day. Can I get a hallelujah? Oh, you guys. How's it going out there? How's everyone feeling? Can you believe how, I feel like for forever, people have been like, oh, this month flew by. And I'm not going to lie. I never really felt the way that other people did when you're talking about like how fast time is flying. Like, I think in general, time is flying. Like, yes, I remember my college or like my freshman year of college. I feel like it was just yesterday. But also, like, I feel like time has just been going the same way it's been going. But something about this month of March, it flew by. Is someone calling me? Oh, no, sorry. It was just a text. The nerve, the audacity of someone to call me. But no, this month of March flew by so quick. Like, it really did. And there's so many things that I think, like, environmentally that change in March. Like, it starts to get warmer, the clocks spring forward. So, like, I feel like mentally, like, like in your mind and stuff, obviously that's what mentally means. I feel like there's a lot of things that kind of propel you forward in March because it's like these are triggers in your mind. When the clocks go forward, you automatically start thinking about summertime and how you're going to be outside in the summer. It starts to get a little bit warmer, so it does, like, there are things that already make it feel like it goes by faster, but I just feel like March genuinely flew by. Like, there are 31 days in March, and I feel like I can only tell you what I did on maybe 3 days so far. Like, I just have no memory of what has happened in March, and I don't know why. Is this how things work? Like, I'm trying to think. I feel like there are just a lot more months where I have a better knowledge of, like, maybe not what I did every day. Maybe I just, like, didn't do a lot of things in March, and the things I remember are like the standout things to me. I don't know. Time is weird. Time is not a construct. Actually, you know what? I have a hot topic question for you guys. I want to know your opinion about this so bad because I saw this on Twitter. I won't be able to find it, but there was like a tweet and someone was saying like, oh, like people who are always late to things make me so upset, blah, blah, blah. And then somebody quote tweeted it and was like basically saying, y'all are going to hate me, but hating people always being late is like a result of racism and like capitalist culture. And while I can understand that a lot of things in this world come from some type of like white supremacy, and I'm not speaking like Aryan race type vibes. I'm just don't know why I chuckled after saying that. I'm so sorry. But I'm not saying it comes back to that, but like certain things like I don't know, like professionalism in the workplace. Like, what is professionalism really? Like, no, maybe I can't come to work in like sweatpants and a hoodie. You know what I'm saying? But like the idea of like certain dress codes in workplaces. Like, why does it matter what you're wearing if like you're just getting your job done? Especially if it doesn't matter, right? I don't want to go too far off. But I can understand that a lot of what we have in America today is something left over or something that we have maintained because of ideas of pushing capitalist culture and, still like not embracing, but like still upholding some form of racism or some type of ism against someone. But being late, I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. I think it's reach. It's not within their grasp. I think it was a reach. Some of the replies that I saw in the tweet, because, a lot of people were like saying like, no, girly, I don't think this is the take. And they were the person that said that this is a result of, capitalist culture, whatnot, and, like racist rhetoric and things like that. They were just saying that, I don't know. It basically all came back to like, white people that were in charge and kind of creating and pioneering that workforce. They created these rules and these ideas that like you have to be on time to work to like so you could be like fully like not taken advantage of, but like so you could be fully working at your full capacity. It's strange. I'm not going to say I don't completely understand what they were saying, but it's one of those things where it's like no, you're not completely wrong, but I don't think it applies in this case. And I honestly wish that when we had these conversations, people took more of a like black and white approach to things instead of being like, this is definitely it and this is definitely not it. Um, I don't know. Like for me personally, it's very funny actually because when I was in college, literally me and one of my friends, we joke about how often we were never on time to any class. We both, I think it was our junior year, we had this HHP, health and something whatever, whatever, a college gym class basically. And this class was on the other side of campus. Our campus was small, but it was on the other side of campus, relatively far. It was a 9 a.m. class. Not only was it on the other side of campus, the class was on the other side of the building. So you get all the way across campus, and then you have to go all the way on the other side of the building. And what makes it worse is the walk to the class. The classroom was like an all glass room. Like it was nothing but like floor to ceiling windows. And the walk to the class was like this really long hallway. So not only were we always late, people could see us fully walking to class. Let's say class starts at 9 o'clock, or maybe it started at like 9:15. People are seeing us walking down this hallway at like, you know, 9:20, 9:25, maybe even 9:30. And it's uh, like, I'm not gonna lie, right? I've never been someone who's always been on time, and there was one point in time where I definitely made it a personality trait. Oof, that gave me the ick just saying that. But I feel like nowadays I do not play about being late to things. I don't like to be late to things. It like actually makes me like paranoid. I try my best to be on time to work. I do have somewhat of a well, not somewhat. I have a long commute ahead of me. But even then, I don't play about getting there on time. I try to be as close to being on time to when people say they need me to be somewhere, which is difficult for me because, your girl don't drive. All the baddies don't drive. So I have to try even harder to be on time to places. So I don't know. I really think ultimately, but you know what else? Going back to the tweet that I was talking about, I think what bothers me about that is like, maybe I could see their point, but like saying time is a construct, so no one should ever have to be on time to anything. I'm sorry, but that's not how the world can work. Like, I just can't imagine like if this person like created this universe in which no one had to be on time to anything. Because imagine if I made a doctor's appointment, because you already know how hard it is to get a hold of any doctor like at any time ever. I want, I'm not going to be the one to jump the bones of the medical field right now, but don't get me started. To quote Troye Sivan, don't get me started. That's not what he says, but you know what I'm saying. But like, I can't imagine if I had an appointment at 9:30 at the doctor's office and my doctor texts me all lowercase, "Hey babes, gonna be running a little late. See you in an hour and a half," instead of the original time that we agreed on. Like, no, I feel like there are just certain things where I'm confused why there are even a conversation about it. Like being on time to things. No, I don't think you have to like be rigidly on time to everything. I don't know, like if I'm having like a pregame at my house before we go out and I tell people, get to my apartment at 10. Well, no, that might be a little late because you're probably wrong. Well, let's say I tell everyone to get to my apartment around 8. If you don't get there right at 8 o'clock, or if you don't get there before 8, let's say you pull up at like 8:10. I'm not going to be mad, 8:20, 8:30, whatever. But if you pull up at like 9, 9:30, I'm going to kind of side eye you. Like, that's not okay. That's just not okay. Even like 8:45, I'm kind of like, do you not own a clock? Do you not look at the time ever? And I understand, people, ooh, I understand, things happen and stuff, but like, for the most part, I don't know. I don't know. People who are like, and you know what? Sometimes it's not even about being late to things. It's really about the attitude you have towards it. Because if you are late and you have this is my personality, or, you're not like apologetic about it. I think that's really what irks people more because, if you look at someone like me in my situation, I take public transportation everywhere for the most part, or I might be taking an Uber. Things can happen with either one of those two things that can make someone late. And I would have grace for someone who is like that. But if you're late because you didn't know how long it would take you to get ready and you didn't even try and like speed it up a little bit, like, grow up. But also, I mean, I'm saying this at 27, and if 27-year-old Shamira was telling this to whatever age I was my junior year, maybe like 21, I'd be like, shut up, you don't get it, old lady. You don't get it, it's not that serious. It's really just about, I just think there are like certain points in your life where you kind of like learn, oh, that was not very camp of me. And being late is one of those things. Funny enough, oh my God, I went 10 minutes and did not do an intro. I literally thought I did only because I started recording and then I stopped because I was just like, I need to restart really quick. I just dived right into that, didn't I? Wow, okay. Doing my intro 10 minutes in. Let's do it. He, she's, gays, and theys. Welcome back to the Realer Than Real pod. I am your host and your eager to jump into her topic's best friend, Shamira. Sometimes in this world we keep things real. Sometimes we keep things very real, but on this podcast right here, where apparently we just can't wait to start yapping, we keep things realer than real. Wow. Wow. I can't believe that. Anyway, it's funny because that was not what I intended to talk about when I first started. I just wanted to talk about some pop culture things that I, saw this week, or maybe just one pop culture thing, or two, actually. Start with the shorter one. So from the last podcast episode, one of my friends texted me and they noticed that my weighted stuffed animal, I think it's an axolotl, but I also think it might just be like a little dinosaur. They texted me and said it didn't have its hat on. And you're right. And the hat does need to be on because I do believe Cowboy Carter comes out on the 29th. We are 6 days from new Beyonce music. That's crazy to me. Because I literally still listen to Renaissance like it came out literally just yesterday. I'm still waiting on the live album. So, Beyonce, if you just want to surprise us, if you really want to shake the girls, if you want to shake the table for the girls, just go ahead and just give me the album. I promise you right now, I know them other girls want the visuals. I want the live album because I need to hear... I really need to, girlfriend, what's that? How you do? I just need it. I need it. So yes, the cowboy hat is on in the background to celebrate the upcoming Cowboy Carter album, Act 2. I'm super excited for that. I know that Azalea Banks has had more things to say about Beyonce. Maybe I'll cover that in this topic or in this podcast. I didn't put any notes on about it because I just not thought about it, but we'll see if we get to it, but maybe we'll get to it as we get closer to the album release. But she's had a lot of thoughts about it, and it's been very interesting. Azalea Banks is a celebrity. Oh, sneak, clock it, catch it. Azalea Banks is she's a celebrity. She's a musician. She's never been someone to shy away from sharing her thoughts, even if they've been unwarranted and not praised in any way. She's never been someone to shy away from it. So this is not surprising. It is just kind of like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, what is she ever talking about? I remember when Troye Sivan said that he liked one of her songs and she just went off on him like for no reason. It was very strange. But anyway, the hat's on. Cowboy Carter's coming. Everyone get excited. Everyone start practicing your line dancing. Everyone get your cowgirl hats, your cowboy hats, get your boots. I honestly, low key, I want a bolo tie. Not really. I went to Fogo de Chao recently and they were wearing them and I was just like, that's kind of sick. Like, I don't know. I just love it. But something else that's been happening on social media. So on Twitter, the good old Bird app, or the app formerly known as Twitter, a lot of people have gone ahead and they have, which is a rare thing on social media, but people have been taking back their words because it has now been revealed that Kate Middleton has been out of the public eye because she was diagnosed with cancer and she's been doing treatments for that. And for the past maybe week and a half to 2 weeks, maybe even 2.5 weeks, there's been a lot of jokes about, she's out of the public eye because she got a BBL. People have been actually speculating that she's been missing, things of that nature, because the royal family just always has something going on. And so finally, she put out a video just saying to everyone how she has a cancer diagnosis, and that's why she's been away for so long. And a lot of people, I saw like so many tweets of people being like, we were sitting up here saying she got a BBL and the whole time she had cancer, and people like, like reacting to it, and not reacting, but like using like shocked reaction memes and things of that nature. And my thing is, when Chadwick Boseman passed away, before that, everybody was saying how he looked so thin. People were making fun of his performance, things of that, or not performance. People were making fun of his appearance and things of that nature. And then when he passed, I don't remember, what did he pass away from? Was it also cancer, or let me check. So when he passed away from colon cancer, I thought, and foolish of me, I assumed, and you know what happens when you assume, there was like this general consensus on Twitter, at least, that, we're no longer going to bring up someone's appearance because you never know what they could be going through. Chadwick Boseman kept his life very private. No one knew what he had passed away from when he passed. And that is obviously his right, just not even as a celebrity, but as a person. No one is, obligated to know what is going on with you. Everything that is going on with you, you have a right to keep close to you. And I thought that we had gotten to a place where we stopped nitpicking people's appearances and things of that nature. And the reason I'm saying this is because when we would see bits and pieces of Kate, people were like, oh, this is edited, or people would see her and they were like, she looks thin and all this stuff. And it's like, I thought we had gotten to a place where we weren't jumping to conclusions like this, or, making fun of people's appearances. Now, it wasn't really her appearance that was being made fun of so much. It was more so the fact that like people genuinely thought that like the royal family was like using AI and like the pictures and stuff, which I don't know, maybe they were, maybe they weren't. I know the picture that she put out for like Mother's Day, which also, why does England celebrate Mother's Day different from us? Or do we celebrate different from the rest of the world? That might have been very like American centric of me. I'm so sorry, everyone. But like, because they said it was Mother's Day and I was like, what's going on now? When is this? But like the picture she posted for Mother's Day, like it did look it looked very heavily edited. But when I first saw it, it just looked like a magazine picture. So I didn't really pay any mind to it. Mind you, I didn't pay a lot of attention to any of this going on. When I first started hearing about all the Kate Middleton stuff, it was the same day as the like Willy Wonka experience thing. And you know how sometimes you just wake up and you go online. This might be people who are like mainly on Twitter and stuff, because Twitter memes just move so fast. And depending on like what the algorithm is giving you on Twitter, because now it's not just people you follow that pop up on your like Twitter feed. Twitter has taken a similar kind of like interface to TikTok, how you have a For You page and then a following page. And For You thing is like things curated based on your likes and stuff. So you might be hearing about something, but because of how your For You, or because of how your algorithm is formulated, you might be hearing a certain part of a meme. Like it's so, I'm telling you right now, internet culture is so sick and twisted in the way that like you could be knowing about 7 things going on, and someone who is on their phone as much as you might only know about 2 of those things. It's so crazy. Anyway. Yeah. What was I saying? Right. So Kate Middleton puts out the video. A lot of people start recanting what they say, which is, I just think in general, it's just, there's this thing about social media, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit when we get to our second topic, but our readiness to like make jokes about anything, I find somewhat endearing. I think it helps us kind of deal with very crazy events. It helps us digest it. Like one of the most notable nights, I think, when people were seriously, when we felt like we were on the precipice of a World War III. A lot of those memes and stuff were very funny, but like it was a very terrifying time for a lot of people, because it felt so real and it felt like we were just on the edge of it. But Twitter, as usual, came through and some quality memes came out of it. And so that's a good thing. Sometimes, though, I think that people just sometimes want to get the most viral tweet off. yes, this is gonna come up actually in the next topic, but um, a lot of people took back their statements about what was said. A lot of the comments I'm seeing though are people being like, "Oh, well, I'm so sorry she has cancer, but why did they wait so long to tell us?" Now, I don't know if the people that are saying this are from the UK or from the US. I don't really know how the UK interacts with like the royal family. I don't know if the UK is like, I don't know if average citizens of the UK are somewhat maybe used to like a more open communication system from the royal family. I really don't know. But just this idea, and I don't really think this necessarily goes into a parasocial relationship, but this really reminds me of the Hallie and DDG thing. I feel like I'm going in so many different topics right now. It's all going to come together. I promise. Give me a second. If I'm giving certain people the benefit of the doubt and, they're saying, oh, I just wish they would have known. I could maybe understand that because in saying that, I guess they're just saying they went to all these lengths to like kind of throw us off the scent or throw us off the trails. They could have just said maybe she's not in good health right now, and that would have been something. And sure, I can understand that. But on the other side of it, cancer in any type of capacity is not an easy thing. It's not this, I don't, I don't think that the public ever has a right to know what is going on with certain figureheads in that. Well, and you know what it is? It's also like Kate Middleton is not a celebrity. She's a public figure. She's a part of the monarch. She's a part of the royal family. So in that sense too, because it's not like she's an actress who's hiding this thing from us. Because in that regard, we don't have anything to know. We don't have any, not her, this actress, this figurative actress, her not being seen for a couple of days is not a big deal. But a member of the royal family, especially a royal family that has been under so much hot water in the past, possibly allegedly having someone missing, I think maybe that's where the distrust comes from, because it's like, it's not just these jokes about like, oh, she got a BBL or she's involved with this Willy Wonka weird experience thing, that people think that this public figure is missing. So I might be taking a step back from what I was going to say. That might be where the concern is coming from. And if that is the case, I do think the royal family could have said something. However, I don't know what type of cancer she was diagnosed with. I don't know if it was breast cancer, ovarian cancer, or if it was just the big C overall. I don't know. What I can say as someone who, my mom passed away from cancer. I know so many other people whose lives have been affected from loved ones passing away from cancer. It is something that, it's cancer. Like, I don't think that their first thought was, let's tell the people, you know what I'm saying? I feel like there needs to be a little bit more tact. And I feel like sometimes the internet lacks tact a lot of times when we talk about these things. I don't know. Like, I thought that people taking back their jokes, I thought that was like the fine and honorable thing to do. But people saying that they wish that they had known, I'm like, yo, it's not like she broke her leg and didn't tell anyone. Like, she is diagnosed with something that now she's going to have to undergo treatments for, and those treatments could severely impact her. Like, this is not something light. And I don't know, like, those ideas, those takes, those tweets, those posts, they bother me so much, because it's like, what do you think is going through her mind right now? You feel so obligated to know what's going on. What do you think is going through her mind? With the Hallie and DDG thing, Hallie and DDG, she's a little mermaid and she got pregnant, and a lot of people, including myself, didn't really favor him because he publicly talked about how he hated her success. I digress, but that's a whole other thing. But she kept her privacy pregnant, even though most people, like, we knew because we had seen it in like vlogs and stuff. But now that she's given birth to her baby and whatnot, she like openly talks about how this pregnancy was something which she wanted to keep personal, because you got to protect your peace. I feel like as a celebrity, as a public figure, you got to protect your peace, and that was her way of doing it. And I know that Hallie also faced a lot of backlash because people felt like she kind of gaslit them, because she would like make jokes being like, well, she wouldn't make jokes, but like she would post pictures like people be talking about, oh, she's pregnant. Look at this clip from DDG's vlog. And then she would post a picture of herself very much not pregnant. And so when she had the baby, or when she like finally announced that she was pregnant and giving birth, people were like, oh, you gaslit us because you try to make us feel like the whole time we were crazy for thinking you were pregnant. And it's like, well, one, I mean, she didn't really gaslight anyone because like she doesn't know you directly, but I understand that feeling of mistrust because, I mean, I don't want to say she gaslit us, but it definitely got to a point where like she kept posting these regular pictures of herself to where like, oh shit, maybe she's actually not pregnant. And then it came out that she was. All in all, what I'm trying to say with this is that I just think in general, I think that there needs to be more tact, implored when we're using social media in these kind of situations. I just think that we as fans, as consumers, feel sometimes entitled to certain narratives, certain things going on, and that's not necessarily our place. Because you never actually know what is going on. People want to know where Kate Middleton was, and the whole time she's dealing with something that can aggressively change the course of her life for a very long time. Or you never know. You never know. So, yeah. Kind of a somber note to end on. And it might only get more somber from here on out. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hi, podcast besties. Listen, I know you're loving the vibes here on the Realer Than Real podcast with your host and your literal best friend, Shamira. But if you know me, you know the party does not stop here. Follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok where you can get behind the scenes sneak peeks of episodes, join the conversations in real time, and stay updated on all things Realer Than Real. Whether it's memes, pop culture headlines, or exclusive content, you can find me on TikTok at The Realer Than Real Pod or Instagram at The Realer Than Real Podcast. I can't wait to see you there. Bye! And we're back, you guys. It's time for Drinks of the Week. Should we make a new jingle or should we use the same jingle from last week? Because I don't remember the jingle from last week, we're going to do a new one. Let's see. Let's just keep it simple. I want to do like jock jams. Drinks of the week. Drinks of the week. What? Drinks of the week. It's time for drinks of the week. Yeah. Should I go into music? Of course, the Big Pink will always be here. Nice and cold water today. I've been trying to drink more water consistently. This is actually my second time filling it up today, so I'm really getting that water intake in. I don't have a fun drink with me right now because right before I decided to start filming and everything, I did have lunch. But with my lunch, I had a lemon lime Olipop. I am the biggest Olipop head. Trust and believe, I'm obsessed. Besides water, that is literally the only thing I drink. Olipop, please, if you are listening, hit your girl up. I love the lemon lime flavor. I love the ginger ale. I've been coming around to the tropical punch. Those are my 3 faves. So hit me up for any of your, if you just have some extra cans lying around you want to send my way, baby, won't you come my way? But that's Drinks of the Week. Please let me know what you are sipping on when you're watching my podcast because I'm nosy. I'd love to know. Okay, you guys. So at the beginning of the pod, I put a trigger warning for this segment coming up, but I do just want to issue that again. That this part of the podcast will cover the Quiet on Set documentary, which is a documentary that covers kind of the dark side of child stars working in Hollywood, specifically those on Nickelodeon during the 90s to the mid 2010s. And talks about just some of the unfit, unethical, unsafe work environments that they endured with some mild to some very extreme and outright instances of sexual assault. So again, if that is something that triggers you, feel free to turn off the pod. I won't be upset. It'll be okay. We'll all be fine. But yeah, so just recently I watched the Quiet on Set documentary. It is currently on HBO Max. If you I mean, excuse me, Max. It's on Max now. So if you have it, I recommend giving it a watch. Geez, I just, like going into certain documentaries, like I feel like if you've seen one true crime documentary, you've probably seen most of them. If you like, I feel like most documentary styles you've seen. So going in, like, what to expect almost. I won't say maybe you've seen them all, but you know what to expect. Going into this, I kind of knew what it was going to look like. Like, obviously, it's going to be people that have worked on these shows, whether it's costumes, writers, executive producers, things of that nature, talking about their experiences on the show. And these type of documentaries, they may have the main person that they're talking about in them, or it may not. I knew all that was going to happen. Even some of the stories, some of the things that I had heard about on the documentary, I kind of had heard about before. Namely, the things about Brian Peck, which I'm not going to, I know I gave a trigger warning for what I'm going to talk about. I do not think I'm going to go into detail about some of the things because I just don't feel comfortable like actually saying those things out loud. I don't know. Like I don't know. I also just think okay. I'm not going to go into detail about what was said in the documentary. I definitely do think if those things are not triggering to you, I definitely think it's worth giving a watch because the bravery and the courage that it took for everyone involved with that documentary, both the child actors that come forward talking about what they face, to the writers that come forward, to costume people, to even just the people who actually, took the time to edit it and listen to these people talk. I think that their work deserves to be, praised and whatnot. But even if you can't watch that stuff, but you still want to know what's going on, there's a lot of great TikTok resources and just a lot of internet resources. But with that being said, the part talking about Brian Peck. So in the documentary, the way that they piece it up, the way that they kind of edit everything together is people at the time that Brian Peck was arrested for what he had done, no one knew who it was at the time. There were people involved in the documentary, like child actors who were on the same show as the actor that said, and I'm going to say who it is in a second, but there were child actors on the same show as him that didn't know it was him. There was an executive producer who didn't even know it was someone on the show that Brian Peck had assaulted. And the grand reveal, and this is what everyone saw in the preview, the grand reveal was that it was Drake Bell. Drake Bell from Drake and Josh. What else was he? He was in All That. That was it, right? All That and then Drake and Josh. Oh, and the Amanda Show. Maybe it wasn't All That. No, he did all three. All That, then the Amanda Show. No, am I wrong? In any regard, doesn't matter. It was Drake Bell. I had heard about this Brian Peck incident from a Shane Dawson video back in 2017. I know he's controversial. Just going to bring him up for this moment. Shane Dawson, if you don't know who he is, very popular YouTuber. He would do these like conspiracy theory videos and he would talk about different topics on them. And one he did about like dark truths of Hollywood. And he had talked about this Brian Peck situation the exact same way they talked about it in this documentary. But when Shane Dawson talked about it, he did not say who it was. And so the fact that he didn't say who it was, and the fact that in this documentary, people that are in this documentary did not know who it was, that leads me to believe that that no one knew who it was. And so the fact that this is something that was so covered up for so long is just so scary to me. I actually just want to go back to, again, just saying how brave I think it was for all of them to stand up and do this and to speak out against Dan Schneider. I know that Tebow, I don't know the actor's real name, but Tebow from iCarly decided to interview Dan and I guess quote unquote get his side of the story, which I can't think of a more stupid thing to do, but that's what he decided to do. So I was taking some notes on the podcast and there's so many things. There's just so many dark things that came out in that podcast that I never really thought about. One of the things, I feel like for a very long time, I feel like after I got to a certain point, you would see these cartoon conspiracy theory, childhood conspiracy theory videos. And in them, you would see things like inappropriate jokes in them. And for some reason, when I originally started seeing those videos, I would think that makes sense because it's these adult jokes are made for the adults watching the shows because the adults are watching TV with their kids. But watching this documentary, seeing some of the adult references that are put in these shows, it's not like, I'm trying to think, on SpongeBob, right? There's like, there's a few of them. I need to think of one. It's the April Fool's episode, and Squidward takes a joke too far, and he's like, I feel like a, and then a donkey comes up over his face. And, the donkey noses and whatnot. And as a kid, I never understood what that mean. As an adult, I understand Squidward saying he feels like an ass or a jackass for like what he did to SpongeBob. That is an idea of like, sure, that's not like an appropriate joke for a kid's show, but it's like a harmless thing that like if a parent saw that, they would think that's funny. The jokes that were on the shows that Dan Schneider wrote, directed, executively produced, all these things like that created, they were really dark. And as a kid, you never noticed it. You never really paid any attention to it. But it's like now as an adult, especially when you understand that like it's not just these adults trying to like make these funny little things. It's adults who are all co-signing this idea of having this, this little girl, because Amanda Bynes was a little girl at the time. It's everyone co-signing her playing a character with the last name Taint. And we all know what a taint is. It's the fact that you have Brian Peck. Yeah, he's an adult, but he's on a kid's show, and his character is Pickle Boy. And it says things like, I like to hurt and tease pickles. There's even a part where they show this in the movie, which I don't remember seeing this when I was a child, but I just might not have been old enough to watch all that at that point. But there's a point where I think it's Ray Romano. He's like a guest on all that, and he's like, oh, I'm so hungry. And Brian Peck is pushing a pickle through a hole in a wall. And it's like, how is that? What's going on here? And it just makes me so sad because hearing some of the people that talk in the documentary, people are scared. And it's unfortunate because talking about this, even the way I'm talking about it, I'm not trying to make it seem like all the adults involved were absolutely okay with everything. But because it doesn't seem like all of them were, because that's how this documentary came to be. That's how certain parts of this documentary came to be. There are certain writers who were definitely not okay with what's going on, but because, and this is something that is so relevant, something that stood out to me the most amongst the documentary and then amongst some of the things that were talked about, like the overall reception of it. The idea, the fear that Dan Snyder instilled in some people, the way that, it was, if you're on his side, you're one of the good ones. If you're not on his side, he's going to make every day a living hell. The way that those politics played, it makes it seem like everyone was okay with it, and it's not. And it's so upsetting. The first few episodes of the podcast, or I keep saying the podcast, the first 2 episodes of the series kind of focus on these 2 female writers, and everything they were talking about was shocking. Like, there was nothing they said that I wasn't just like, oh my God, like that's crazy. The absolute craziest thing to me, they both had moments where they were just like completely over it. The one, I forget her name, but she had the bob haircut. And she talks about how like they were like, I don't know, maybe doing like a writer's roundtable or something. And they're talking about like some scenarios like to create a script around or like a scene around or a skit around for all that. And Dan tells her to perform it as if she is like, I don't want to say it because I'm actually like low-key uncomfortable with saying it, but like you have to watch it if that's something that doesn't trigger you, because it's so just like, you obviously like in 2024 after, especially when we're like kind of post Me Too movement, it kind of peeled back a lot of the layers of like what's going on in Hollywood. But now it's even forcing people to look back on certain things that happen and are like, oh, wait, that's actually not okay. So when they shift from what the writers went to into what the kids kind of went through, one of the quotes that stuck out to me: how safe can any child be on this set if this is how women are treated? When I tell y'all that sent a chill up my spine, because obviously like watching a documentary, I knew what was going to happen. I knew about the Brian Peck story already, but it was just like, damn, like that, like really sent a chill down my spine. A lot of people critique the parents for what's going on. Actually, funny enough, not funny, but like interestingly enough, the parents of Corey and Kyle Massey, the mom of Corey and Kyle Massey, decided to speak up, and she said, don't blame Dan, blame the parents. When I tell y'all Twitter ate her up, someone quote tweeted it and said, mind you, these are her children. And what's his name? Kyle Massey, who plays Corey from That's a Raven, was under like investigation for allegedly sending inappropriate pictures to a 13-year-old. And the older son, Kyle? What's his name? The older son, who he played Michael, I think that was his character's name in Zoe 101. He was arrested for domestic violence. Talking about don't blame the parents. Well, can we blame the parents now that it's you? Anyway, a lot of people are upset with a lot of the way that the parents talk about a lot of the incidents that happen. There was a mother in the documentary, and her daughter played like a background character in an All That skit. And maybe she had to do a few more things. She wasn't like one of the big names of All That. And my heart ached for every single parent that talked in the documentary. There were a total of four parents of the stars themselves that were in the documentary. And each one of them, just each of their stories were so, like, their pain was more palpable than the last. But a lot of people were upset with this mom in particular because, so her child was on the side of All That, and she ended up becoming friends with the PA. And this PA and the girl, they would be like emailing back and forth. And eventually, this PA sent the girl an inappropriate picture of himself. And the mom did not contact the police right away, and people were very upset with her. And I can understand why, because regardless of if you are a parent or not, like obviously I'm not a parent, but God forbid if I ever have to experience something like this, I know that I would hope that my first inkling would be go to the police and handle this, like get something done to this person that is trying to cause this harm to my child. I totally get that. But what she talked about is, I feel like something that, like a reality that people are not trying to accept, which is that I think she was scared. She was so unsettled. Is unnerved the right word to use in this moment? I'm not sure. But there's this idea that the parents are to blame as well. And I think, and again, obviously I don't know, I wasn't there, but it is my honest opinion that the parents were just as afraid as people were on set. If there are people that are getting paid to be there that are fully afraid to speak up when they're doing a bit about a kid, the only black kid on set is pretending to be he's a cookie dealer and he's doing all these shady movements. If no one can speak up when it's about that, then these parents who are merely just guests on this stage, it creates an environment for them to not be able to speak up. A lot of the kid actors on the documentary talked about how, like, parents were supposed to be around, but no one was ever around. They'd be separated from their parents for hours and things like that. Like, the parents were not there. And then one of the moms of the kid actors, she talks about how she did try to speak out a few times and it made her feel ostracized. And she didn't want her son to have to pay for the mistakes that that she thought she was making. By speaking out, she didn't want him to have to face those issues. And so it creates this weird psyche for these parents. And I'm not excusing anything that happened, but I just wish that people, again, like we talked about in the opening segment, it's not everything is so black and white when it comes to them, when it comes to these parents, or at least the two that I mentioned. Because I'm going to tell you one parent who everyone should be gearing all the smoke towards is Drake Bell's mom. And I'm going to talk about this bitch in a second because she got me fucking heated, y'all. I really wish I remembered more people's names on the show. Let me actually just so Brian Hearn was an actor that was he was a child actor on All That. He talked about one of his experiences where he was playing, like, the bit was he was like the youngest rapper to ever exist, and his name was Lil Fetus, and he had to be fitted in a leotard, which another actor on the documentary named Leon Frierson, he talked about how being a boy in his prepubescent body, having to wear these leotards and basically having all of his bits and pieces out there for everyone to see was very uncomfortable for him. I can only imagine, like, puberty is like the least flattering moment of anyone's life, and to constantly be put into these leotards and be put on center stage is inappropriate and uncomfortable. But specifically, what Brian talked about is how I guess he was getting fitted for a leotard, and an adult on this set literally said to him that the skin suit should be the color of charcoal. What? Like, that's just, like, that is literally disgusting to say. And he talks about how he broke down crying. And I cannot imagine. These are just comments being made, right? These are comments being made, putting the boy in the leotard is like, it's just for the bit, but like, you are creating an unsafe environment for these kids to work in that goes beyond just like they're working long hours, which they shouldn't be anyway. And there's not even a lot, there are not strong enough child labor laws in California and New York, because that's, obviously where a lot of these TV lots are. Oh my God, the sirens outside are fucking crazy. Go past already, please. It feels like they're not moving. Okay, I think it's going past now. Okay. Jeez Louise. But there's not enough laws in place to actually help these children feel safe, or to actually enforce, like, okay, and even if there are laws around, it's not even so much that laws need to be made. And there are laws around the things that happen on this set. There are very clear laws about what you can and cannot do to children in general. But it's clear that those laws aren't being, like, effectively put into place. There need to be people in place to actually enforce certain laws, or to actually be like, oh, hey, you're an adult. You cannot be in this person's dressing room all the time. Like, it disgusts me. I think about so often how child actors are so not protected in Hollywood. And it makes me so sad, because we all know this stigma. We all know the idea of what it's like to be a child actor. Like, I often think about, like, whenever I see someone like, I don't know, a Hilary Duff doing well, I'm like, oh, thank God, that's a child actor who kind of, quote unquote, made it out through the other side. I think Miley Cyrus is getting like we'll call it like a Lifetime Achievement Award from Disney. And it's so rare to see a child actress or a child star in general make it out on the other side and do well. But that is because there are not enough things set in place to make sure that these children are protected and guarded throughout their entire career. And that's just from the Hollywood executives. Imagine in some cases, like Amanda Bynes, where, you really don't get along with your family because your family essentially ain't shit. And then you get involved with Dan Schneider, who is allegedly, probably basically ain't shit. And some of the things that people are saying, especially about the relationship, and I'm not saying like romantic relationship, but I'm saying that the way that Dan Schneider interacted with Amanda Bynes, the way he intertwined himself into her life, there's a lot of super dark things being said. Amanda is not speaking out about it. There's been a few blind items in which she, that she allegedly submitted to be talked about. Blind items are essentially like anonymous headlines about people. And she was quoted saying that, she's so ready for the truth to come out. There was a quote that stuck out to me about a blind item that she allegedly submitted, in which she said, I've been picking at this scab for years. I'm just not going to be the one to peel it off, or like to peel it off. And I commend her for wanting to take a step back from it, because something else I don't like is that people are like, oh, why doesn't Ariana Grande speak up? Why doesn't, so-and-so speak up? In what world, and again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier, in what world do you think that people are, or that you're entitled for people to relive their trauma just so you can have a little bit, so that you can have a little bit of entertainment? And you know what, if I'm giving some of the benefit of the doubt, I understand that you want to, because when you look at Ariana Grande and you look at her time on Sam and Cat and Sam and Cat and Victorious, she got a lot of that, like, inappropriate, like, just barely okay things to do on TV. A lot of that was her character, Kat Valentine. And so if you are, you want to hear her talk about it, because it's like, I know that she has a lot of perspective about this. I know that she has some stories to tell, and I want to hear that because, I think it will further solidify in my mind this idea that Dan Snyder, Nickelodeon, are behind this negative energy. That's one thing. But if you just want it because you want another piece to put into this conspiracy theory that you're trying to build in your head, that's gross. And no one is entitled to feed that to you. It just gets me so heated. I feel like I've gone through several topics just now. I want to talk about Drake Bell. Oh, Drake Bell. In the documentary, this goes back to earlier when I was saying how, when you watch certain documentaries, how they are, how they're going to be put together, right? So during a lot of the scenes, they have like the typical documentary music. They're doing like all the typical documentary things, right? Moments where Drake Bell was talking, it actually makes me want to cry a little bit because it actually was like it was very sad, very touching. Moments where Drake Bell is talking, the music cuts, and the audio is so clear. And it's just so silent. You can just hear him talking and him breathing. And it's when he is talking about like when he's remembering the moments, the first time that Brian Peck assaulted him. And there's just this palpable silence. And I was sitting in my apartment watching it, and I found myself even just sitting still, and like I felt like I was in the same room with Drake and we're having a conversation about this. And like how you're listening to a story and you're trying to respect that someone is feeling awkward about it. I found myself like, nodding. I found myself doing all the visual cues to let someone know it's okay to talk about it. Like that is how the way they edited that part was so intentional. And I just appreciate the way that they did that. But hearing Drake talk about it, and he didn't really talk about it. I don't know how old he is. But he's clearly older than when those incidences took place. And he still struggles with speaking about it. And my heart, it just broke for him. I really do feel like I'm about to cry. I need to get a tissue really quick. It broke for him. And when we talk about parents, so he talks about how his mom and his dad got divorced when he was younger. And oh my God, I feel the tears coming, and I have on a full face of makeup, so I'm going to try and preserve it. But he talks about how his mom and his dad got divorced when he was younger, and he spent a lot of time with his dad. And when him and his dad would be on the set of all that and stuff, and the Amanda show, his dad would notice the signs. He would not let Drake out of his sight, and he would notice the signs early on. And Brian Peck, the monster that he is, there's just, it just makes me really sad, you guys. I did not think I was going to cry talking about this. This is crazy. Just the monster that he is just makes me so sick. But Brian Peck was able to get himself into Drake's life and separate him from his dad. And just, I really feel like I'm crying because I just remember the scenes of like Drake's dad talking about how he didn't want to leave his son, but he ultimately wanted to make Drake happy. So when Drake said that he wanted to live with his mom, he went and lived with his mom. And Drake's dad said, it's fine. I'll do whatever Drake wants, because if he wants to be happy, but that's what I'm going to do. Drake's dad begged his mom to keep Drake away from Brian Peck. And in turn, she didn't do that. She let this man take her son to all these auditions by himself. He would spend the night at his house. He would hang out with him. This man would come to his concerts, and she didn't do anything. And it wasn't until Drake's girlfriend, her mom, it took a complete stranger to know what was happening, because Drake's mom, his own mom, didn't even see it. And that's just so sad. It breaks my heart more than anything. And to know that his dad was doing the thing that the other parents didn't feel like they could do. He tried to speak out against this Brian Peck dude so much, and he brought it up to an assistant, and I'm like actually boohoo crying right now. This is crazy. He brought it up to an assistant, and the assistant was like, "Oh, well, Brian's gay. Are you a homophobe?" Girl, what are you talking about? He's telling you that this grown man is touching his son too much and making him uncomfortable, and you're making this about sexuality. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's so dark and sinister, aren't even words to describe it enough. It is just something that, like, in that moment, like, those are one of those people that, that's not someone who is afraid of Dan Snyder. That's someone who is openly allowing all these things to happen. And in the documentary, they talk about how, like, right before Brian Peck, I forget the person's name, but it was a PA, the one I was talking about earlier. So this PA gets arrested for all of his lewd acts, then Brian Peck, and then another person gets arrested. There's 3 in a row. 3 in a row, Nickelodeon? Come on now. Someone needs to be doing these checks. Someone needs to be in place. Ugh, it makes me sick. Something else that really broke my heart for Drake is when he's talking about kind of how everything started coming together, everything started leading up to what would inevitably happen to him. He talks about it with so much, what's the word? So much like, I should have seen the signs, I should have known. And that, it's not fair for him to have to say that, because he was a kid and he shouldn't have to. You should have wits about you, right? That's fine. But he shouldn't have to say, oh, I should have known that this adult was going to do these things to me. And it's just really sad. I fully cannot believe I'm crying, you guys. This is like, it's not embarrassing, because this is something that, like, it does make me sad. I need to actually bring the tissues closer. But it's just like, oh my God, like, stories about where people fail, where systems fail people, make me so sad, because it's like, what's the point? One of the kid actors, he talks about how, after he sees, I talked about preserving my makeup, and I already know it's fucked now, but, after he sees how all of these men that got arrested for doing these things, and they got so little time, they were able to get back out and continue working with kids, it put some distrust in, like, his belief in the systems and stuff that are in place to keep him safe. That's what actually gets me, is like, how is anyone supposed to be like, oh yeah, this is totally fine? Like, the whole thing is so frustrating. I'm like, I need to calm down. I need to calm down. Ugh. Oh girl, I did not expect to be crying like this. Holy Toledo, Batman. Whew. Okay. The documentary continues to go on, and they kind of talk about, like, just like the impacts that everything has had on them, like I was just saying. And a lot of the child actors, they talk about, like, all of the mental, the mental strife that it put on them, talking about how they all went through alcoholism. They're all in therapy. There's still some things that they struggle with talking about. And Drake Bell, I remember, because this was around the time that he was in the media a lot, and there was a lot of misconstruing headlines about what was going on with him. I was also someone who I felt like I thought one thing was happening with him in the media, and it turns out that it wasn't. But I remember, like, shortly after his whole thing happened, he ends up going missing in Mexico for like a week and a half, or maybe actually wasn't that long, but like, just the impact that this all has on everyone, because it's not just what happens in that moment. As we all know from our lives, just in general, it's not ever about what happens just in that moment. I always hear the phrase, people might not remember you, they remember how how you make them feel. You might not remember a certain moment, but you remember how that moment will make you feel. And that's something else that that's something else why I feel for, like, child actors so much, because it's like, these things have such long lasting effects on them. I think just in general, like, being famous in general has a lot of effects on you that, like, are different from, like, your average person. But then to be a child in that situation and to not grow up with, like, typical childhood experiences, and it just makes me sick to my stomach. It makes me so sick. I feel like now on TikTok, I'm now people are like peeling back the layers, finding these like more of the vlogs that Dan Schneider would do. So like, he was creating iCarly right at the time where like YouTube was just taking off, kind of like that social media always being online thing was just kind of taking off. And he there's just so many videos where you can see the cast of like iCarly and the cast of Victoria's looking so uncomfortable with him around. I think just in general, like, I don't know, having someone shove a camera in your face all the time when you're already on set in front of cameras and lights and things of that nature is probably just already uncomfortable. But like, there are so many moments where you can see, there's a video I've been seeing a lot of recently. Like, I've probably seen it on Twitter today at least like 10 times. I think it might be Miranda Cosgrove's birthday or something. And Dan Snyder, like, he goes to give her a hug and you can see she like tries to like turn away to not be involved, and he just like kind of forcefully turns her around, gives her a hug from behind, and it's just like, ew, like, you're so gross. A lot of people are very happy and like championing, I think I'm using that correctly, championing Jerry Trainer, who played Crazy Steve on Drake and Josh, and they ended up playing almost forgot his name, Spencer Shea on iCarly, Carly's older brother, because he was like the only adult that was around and protecting the kids. You can see it's not like, I mean, I don't know if this happened, but it's there was no like fist fights. It's not like he's like beating up Dan Snyder, being like, oh my God, leave everyone alone. But you can see in a lot of videos, he interjects, he tries to like always be around and stuff. I even read somewhere, and I don't know if this is true or not. Has not been corroborated, but someone said that like even when he would be done shooting and filming for the day, he would still stick around on set to make sure that the kids felt safe. People also asked about why Jeanette McCurdy wouldn't speak about anything. I listened to Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Great, fabulous book, by the way. I'm so happy I spent the money on it. I don't know if I talked about this on here yet, but right after I bought her book, Spotify made like audiobooks free for listening. I was gagged by that. I was really gagged, truly gagged. But I'm so happy I spent the money on that book because it was so worth it. And the book was more so talking about the trauma that she faced at the hands of her mother. But she did talk about Dan Snyder. She talked about him. She didn't directly mention him, but she did talk about him. She talked about how he made the work environment very unsafe, and he had two sides to him. And one side was very kind and very lovely, and he would shower you with compliments. And the other side, he would berate people for what felt like hours. And it's just like, And something else we talked about in the documentary. So Dan Snyder won the only kind of like Lifetime Achievement Award from Nickelodeon. Because I mean, looking at what he's done for Nickelodeon, he has pioneered a lot of things. He's created like some of the most core shows from our childhood that we can think of. So he won that award, and a lot of people noticed that at the time Jeanette McCurdy wasn't there. And I don't know when he won this award. I don't know the actual year, but so I'm trying to like place where it was. Maybe was it 2017, I think? But I mean, yeah, she had no right, or she had no need to be there. And if that's where her healing started, with severing her ties from Nickelodeon, then so be it. But it was quite the documentary, and clearly it's had quite the effect on me. It just breaks my heart, man. Knowing how things played out for, everyone involved with this, and even the people that didn't get to speak up. I was literally, earlier today, I was filming a YouTube video, and I was like ranking celebrities, right? And Amanda Bynes came up, and I had to like stop and collect myself, because now whenever I see her, whenever I hear her name, I get this moment of feeling like it feels like a long lost friend. And I know it's like, obviously, like, I don't know her. I've never grown up with Amanda Bynes. Like, I didn't grow up with her personally, but like, I watched her, and I saw her on Amanda's show and all that. And I saw her on, what was her, she had a show on CW that Dan Snyder also was like involved in and stuff. She's All That? Yes, that was the show. And I saw her in, what she was in that one movie where she like pretended to be like a boy and stuff, and I saw her in Easy A, and we like have grown up with her, and thinking about her makes me like whenever I think about her, I think of this song, "Hope You're Okay" by Olivia Rodrigo. If you don't know the song, you should listen to it. And this is so unrelated, but whenever I hear Olivia Rodrigo's name, I think of that TikTok audio that's like Olivia Rodriguez, that little Mexican girl that always be crying. 0 out of 10. But uh, if you haven't seen Quiet on Set, I recommend it if you're able to tolerate something like that. I think that those stories deserve to be amplified, and what I can hope for is that this peels back the layers of more things and that more people are able to step up and speak. And I hope that this actually invokes some change in Hollywood. There needs to be a serious look at just in general the accommodations for anyone involved in any type of production, but like specifically, like I just makes me sad. Like even just stepping away from like children stars for a little bit. I recently just read that on the set of Don't Worry Darling, there was no intimacy like coordinator, and that apparently made a lot of people uncomfortable. That's something that like should not be allowed to happen. There's just so many things in Hollywood that happen that like, where are the systems? Where are the checks and balances to make sure people are safe? It infuriates me. It truly, truly does. It makes me sad. It makes me emotional, clearly. It just makes me really upset. I'm going to take a quick break because I need to I just need to reset. We'll be right back. Hey, besties. Are you ever curious about the woman behind the podcast mic? Probably not, because I'm an oversharer and you probably know most things about me. But if you want to get to know the real tea on all things Shamira, you should follow me on my personal social media. From day in the life vlogs to cooking videos to music reactions, babe, I do it all. My personal socials are where I take time to romanticize my everyday, ordinary girl life. So if you're into good vibes, laughs, and a touch of authenticity, come join the party. You can find me on TikTok at Shookmira, Twitter at Shamira James, that's 2 S's on the end, and Instagram at Shamira.Poppy, that's Papii. I'll see you there, babes. Bye. Okay, I think I've gathered myself enough. Not that I think that emotions are bad. I actually think that it's just fine that I cry because that just shows that I'm an empath and I truly do feel for people. But I've gathered myself enough. We're going to end out this podcast on a happier note, hopefully. And we're going to go through my Spotify repeat rewind playlist. So if you're not a Spotify girly, I feel bad for you. Because I don't know how Apple treats y'all, but Spotify treats us very well. And they're always making little podcasts to they're always making little playlists to just help it feel more personalized to us. So your repeat rewind is just a playlist of your past favorite songs. I think it's about 30 songs. So I just want to go through and just like, I don't know, tell y'all why they're on here. I was going to do it with my on repeat playlist, but like I feel like the reason that they're all on there is because I can't stop listening to them. Repeat rewind, I can give you like the headspace of what I was like into at the time. So starting from the bottom, already embarrassing. We have the Glee cast version of Gloria. Great cover. The actual song Gloria is by a woman named Laura. I don't know how to say her last name, but it's a song that my friend put me onto, and it's a peak like 80s like synth and everything. It's da-da-da, da-da-da. Like it is like peak 80s music, and so this is a cover of it from the Glee cast, and everything the Glee cast does, they eat. So next song on here is 16 Carriages, which I also think is currently on my on repeat playlist. But I mean, it's Beyonce. It's the second single from the album. Like 16 Carriages on the way. Like great song. Want You to Want Me by Jason Derulo. He's cringy himself. Like, have y'all ever seen the clip of him? I think he's on like some talk show, and it has to be around the time that he was like doing promo for like the live action movie of the Cats like Broadway play, and he like acts like a cat. It is the cringiest thing ever. Like he's so cringe, but I do love this song. It's like the perfect like pop song. It's too hard to sleep. I got the heat on the floor, nothing on me. Like it's fun. It's a fun song. Janet Jackson's All For You, great song. Just another like fun pop song. Like sometimes there are just certain songs that make you feel like, if you're not watching, I'm so sorry, you're missing out on this visual, but like they just make you feel like so like, I feel like that girl listening to them, and not like that girl. I feel like an it girl. Actually, it's a difference. I feel like an it girl. Oh no, it went off. Okay. Never Really Over by Katy Perry. I really thought, because her song like Swish, 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 and This Is What We Do were such flops. I really thought like this second wave of music coming from her was gonna eat, and it didn't. I feel like it didn't do so well, but I actually really love this song, Never Really Over. I thought it was fun. I thought it was vocally, it was like really interesting. Just overall, like kind of slept on. Okay, Move from Renaissance is featuring Grace Jones and Thames. Great song. Couldn't really tell you why it's in my, I mean, it's Renaissance, so it's something from this album is either going to be in my like repeat, my repeat rewind, or my on repeat. Breaking Dishes by Rihanna. It's been like a trending TikTok sound, so I've just like rediscovered it. Now that was a good era of music for her, just like that pop girl kind of like, I'm breaking dishes up in here all night. Oh, I ain't gonna stop until I see police lights. And also, I just love angry women music. So, All I Ask by Adele. Love that song. Did y'all know that song was written by Bruno Mars? Like, literally, I tell people that fact as if I'm the one that wrote the song. Like, whenever someone's like, they could even just mention Adele. And I'm like, did you know that Bruno Mars wrote All I Ask? Love that song. One of my favorite things about that song actually is how when you listen to Adele sing it, it sounds very like yearning. It like gives, not like it gives like very sad. But when you listen to a Bruno Mars cover it, which he did on like the BBC Live Lounge, the way that he sings it, it's the same words. The way that he sings it, it has very much of a, I couldn't look at the camera when I was going to say this. It has very much of a, like literally it has the feeling of, let's make love one more time before this is over. When Adele sings it, it kind of feels like she's saying, let's just be together one more night. It's so interesting how two artists are singing the exact same song, but like the way they sing it or the way they decide to, play it live it changes like the way you feel about the song. It's so interesting to me. Let's see. I actually don't want to go through all of them. I just want to kind of go through like the more fun ones. Summer Renaissance from the album Renaissance is just a lovely song. It's one of the only ones I can get my boyfriend to admit that he actually likes from the album, so I'll take it. I Just Called to Say I Love You by Stevie Wonder is a very happy song, but most times when I listen to it, it makes me cry, and I don't know why. It's like it is a happy, it is a love song. It's so sweet, but something about it inherently makes me sad, and I couldn't tell you why. Why Don't We Fall in Love by Amerie. She might be like just a few hit wonder kind of girl, but the song she did come out with, Why Don't We Fall in Love, One Thing, I feel like there's a few more I can't think of right now, but like she ate. She did what needed to be done. I wish she was still making music because she ate. Hiss by Megan, Come On Now. These Hoes Don't Be Mad at Megan, These Hoes Mad at Megan's Law, yeah. Jaded from Miley Cyrus's album And the Summer Vacation. Such a good album. I love this song. I think this song, River's a good one, and Rose Colored Lenses are probably my favorite one from the album. I adore those. My Man by Tamar Braxton is on here. I love Tamar Braxton. She is so vocally gifted. I feel like people don't talk about her enough. If you watch a live performance of this song from the BET Awards, people thought she was lip syncing, but I knew the truth. And I love this song. It's just so dramatic too. She literally says heifer. I love this song. The Other Side by Jasmine Sullivan. I love the whole album. So The Other Side is from Ho's Tales, which is one of my favorite albums. And I love this song. I love every song on the album, but specifically on this song, there's like a bit of vocal layering towards the end that I just think it feels like I'm being wrapped up in her vocals. Like it's so beautifully done. But that was most of my repeat rewind. Yeah. I just wanted something like more, something fun to end off this video with, since I just cried, for what felt like forever. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Realer than real.